mean, what do you want to know about it?
Anything.
Anything?
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you, I always remember the LST flotilla. I forget the number of the flotilla we had in my LST 52. And of course, when we left England to cross the Channel from Southampton Harbour, we were carrying British troops, tank people. We had Sherman tanks below our decks. Either crossing, other flotillas and American ships came out of Dover, they came out of Plymouth, England. From every southern port of England, the ships came out of on June 5th. 1940, was it 4, I think it was. And across the Channel, there were so many ships in the Channel. The channels were rough. You could practically walk from ship to ship. It seemed like it was so close, so near. And a bright moonlight night, but very windy. And overhead, when we got out our way across the Channel, overhead there were hundreds and hundreds of aircraft towing gliders that carry the paratroopers. And they were to land under France, way beyond the beaches before we arrived. Okay? Then came these bombers, and honest to God, the reflections as they were going by the moon, all you could see silhouettes of planes, and so many of them going across the Channel, and then so many ships. And we arrived off the coast of France. I was at near Lee Harbor, that's all. But the beach area was Blue Beach, and it was where the British landed. It was more or less a flat terrain, more than Omaha. Omaha was cliffs. And that was the American beach. I was off to our right. But we didn't know at the time that we were going to land at what they call Blue Beach. But we arrived about 5 in the morning, and we dropped anchor for half an hour. Then I got the word to go in to the beach. And we went at full steam, which is about 20 knots per hour for us. But the waves were high, and the whole flotilla of LST, we were the first. We were driving for the beach, and as if you weren't going to stop. At that point, there was no action at all. No firing from the Germans. I guess we completely surprised them. No action at all at that point. Until we were about ready to reach the beach, then the landmines blew some of the ships up. And we went in, and as if we weren't going to stop. Hit the sand as we were going down. My job at the time was taking soundings on the ramp. The soundings to see how deep the water was. Meantime, the British soldiers were in their tanks below our decks, and they were revving up their engines. Okay? And the bow doors open to the side, and the ramp comes down while we were sailing, getting into the beach. It's all done simultaneously. And as we hit the beach, it's going full force, and the bottom of your ship is scraping across now. And you get down to a certain point, then you come to a sudden halt. Now, by that time, all hell was breaking loose. And I'm the grandfather's down there like a dope with a goddamn clothesline with a lead weight under the sound and giving the sound up to the bridge. Close to the deck. In the meantime, the first thing that came over our ship was a bulldozer. He went over to the right. Then the tanks came off. The reason for the bulldozer is the German anti-aircraft was firing away at you and caught one of the tanks coming off our ship, disabled it. The bulldozer came and just pushed it over the side on its end, and forget about the people sitting there. So the other tanks could come out. And that's what happened to us on one occasion. We had about 6 tanks that came off the bridge, came off our ship. The 7th one got hit. By that time, I was back going up on the bridge when I heard this shattering commotion. And the bulldozer operator, he has no protection at all. These guys are full. Comes from the side, tips that bulldozer, that tank right over, and gets it out of the way so the other tanks can come out. And when we get the below decks emptied out, now our job is to get the elevator for the ones that are sitting on our above decks. Bring them down on the elevator, off they go, and then they keep going right onto the beach, continue on. All we saw was one German plane throughout the whole action. And he didn't fire one shot. All he did was flew around and someone had the German enemy aircraft on the starboard side. And he just came down shooting low over the bridge. He wasn't shooting, he came flying low over the beach, took right off. It was the only German aircraft I'd ever seen in my life. And I'd never seen another one. It was the only one. He finally took off, and where he went to, God knows. In the meantime, we're not the only ship we're unloading, of course. Now, there are hundreds of ships on the beach unloading at the same time. And the small boats come out with the troops, with the soldiers down on foot, the infantry, and they're charging up the hill. But by now, there's a lot of action and firing going on the beach, a lot of injuries, a lot of wounded people, a lot of dead people. And we've got our ship unloaded, now we're empty. And the orders come now, we get stretchers. When we run on the beach, when we get whatever wounded people we can get, put them on the stretcher, bring them back into the ship. And our job is done more or less now because we unloaded everybody. So, and no matter what position you may have been or what rank you held, didn't make any difference. The orders were everybody grab a stretcher. And we're running off the damn school ship, and you fall down where you can and protect yourself and go get someone that's laying wounded. Bring them back onto the ship. Meantime, they had medical people that were assigned to our ship, British, so doctors and British corpsmen. They handled them as we brought them in. They were handling them, treating them, giving them blood and whatnot, wrapping them up with wounds. For about, I would say almost 3 hours before the lull of the action died down completely. No more firing from anybody, other than everybody was pushing ahead now. And about 3 hours of that, so then it never died down. Meantime, we were still working and bringing people in. Those who went to civilians, we put them on rack, and they had brackets on the bulkheads of our ship, the wall, called bulkheads. And they hooked on the stretch to hook down to the bunks. Okay? We finally, the long story short, we finally got our ship loaded with the wounded being treated, the wounded and some dead. And we had to stay there because we had no water to pull us off, pull us off the ship. Our tide had gone way out. The dead, we finally got back on the beach to pile up in a pile. All we did was keep their ID tags over their ship, so people would know them. Okay. Then I'm on, while we're waiting for the tide, my duties was stay on the bridge and signal and to watch from what do we call it? What do you call the lead ship, the flotilla carrier? You know, the commanding officer of the flotilla?
Commodore.
The Commodore ship.
Right. Commodore is the guy who leads.
You know, he's the head of the flotilla, really.
Commodore is the head of the flotilla.
Because he wasn't on our ship.
Right.
He was on the commanding ship.
Right.
So you had to keep viewing, looking at that ship, waiting for orders from the Commodore. And because we couldn't move anyway. And finally, about about almost 8 or 9 or 10 hours after we had landed. Then the tide started coming back in again. Okay? But that was the next day.
Flagship.
Flagship, that's right, the flagship.
Commodore is the head of the ship.
Right, the flagship. He's in charge of your whole
Ship
flotilla.
that he's on, flagship.
Right. But when you're maneuvering out on the channels, you're all in single file. And your lead ship is your boss ship, either the commanding officer for the entire flotilla. And of course, signals are carried down the line from ship to ship from the get the orders. So while I was on the bridge waiting for signals from the Commodore ship, so, make a long story, we finally got pulled off the beach the next day. Now we had civilian French people coming running down the beach, where they were before, I never know. But the firing had stopped, and then they come out from under from the bushes, whatever they were, and they were trying, we were lifting our ramp to close our ship bow doors, and they were trying to hang on to the ramp. They wanted us to take them back to England. And we couldn't do it. They were banging their fingers on the ramp, so they let go because the ramp was being pulled up. That was it up. Then you have doors that close this way, you know. They were banging their fingers. And I could speak French. And they were, hey, please, they say in French, keep this back, keep this back. Meantime, they had a lot of railroad ties that were dug into the beach. And when the tide was in, these things were hidden from the water. But if you struck one of those, it would blow you up. And many tanks struck them, and many bulldozers struck those things. They were landmines and stuff. So we finally got closed, and when the water was high enough, we got pulled off the ship. Pulled off the beach, rather. And then we headed back to Southampton for our first, as a hospital ship now, going back. We were empty. All we had was wounded and the wounded soldiers. And the medical people around assigned to our ship who would treat them and operating on them and everything aboard our ship. It was only an overnight trip to Southampton. We'd go to Southampton, unload the wounded, again the tanks, another load of tanks that were waiting for us, load of the tanks, go back on the second trip, which we did. The second trip we came back, they had all wounded on the beach waiting for us. That's not only my ship, other ships too. The last pretty good. And filled up the ship again with wounded soldiers and headed back to Southampton. That was the extent of my D-Day duties as far as D-Day was concerned. From that second round trip, then we came back to the States. Then we got rigged up to go to the Pacific. That was all it was. Two round trips we made to Blue Beach. But then we had heard about the stories with the American Rangers who had landed at Omaha Beach, and they really caught hell, more so than the British beach. We had an easy beach, considering, as opposed to the Omaha Beach. Omaha Beach, those Rangers were climbing steep cliffs, and would had to get ropes and everything. We weren't there at all. But man, oh man, they really suffered. They sent us to Omaha Beach on the second to get more wounded. That's the only time I seen Omaha Beach. I hadn't seen those cliffs. Bluebeard, I said, was just a plain terrain. It was just like going to Sandy Beach, low land and everything. But Omaha was nothing but cliffs. The American boys really took a shellacking there. That was the extent of the action that morning. But we landed at exactly 6 a.m. on December 7th, D-Day was June 6th was D-Day, 1944. All I could tell you, I'd gone away down, everybody was praying on the evening. We had no peace on our ship. We all knew we were going to go out again. And on the way across the channel, General Eisenhower send again a personal message to everyone who had heard of the PA system, and also to Winston Churchill. In a speech, talk about on the value about the grid and what it meant to the world. But the ships, hundreds, and as far as your eye could see, there were ships. And above you, as high as you could see, planes and gliders, hundreds and hundreds of them. And prior to the invasion day, we were assigned to our ship No Liberty. We were sent on a ship from the beginning of June. Nobody could get off the ship. You were loaded and everything. And all you did was anchor at Southampton Harbor. And then on the 5th, up to prior to that time, we still didn't know it was going to be an invasion. They didn't tell us until we were halfway across the channel when they told us we were on the way to invasion. We thought it was going to be another drill type of deal, which we were doing all that time prior to that. But when we left the harbor, we seen all ships raise anchor and go out of the harbor one at a time. Then we knew this was it. That's the best I can tell you right now, man.
That's good enough.
I got some pictures.
Bueno.